Okay, the three stats or pieces of information that surprised me from these two reports. Um, kind of be weird because they were. I'm choosing things that surprised me, and then once I read further on or I critically thought about it a little bit more, it made more sense. The first one, um, I know it's only 1%, but 64% of teenage girls using generative AI versus 63% of young boys. Once again, 1% difference. I would have thought it is much higher on the for young boys. The Just because the people I know who are women tend to be more progressive, um, and a more progressive stance currently is to be against generative AI. So I would have thought that that would be the opposite. Another piece of information um, that I found interesting. I found it interesting. It talked about how it, it it shared the information that 64% of teens use AI, in, but it kind of shared it in a way that maybe it was dishonest in how it was shared. Because when you read that statement, you think, oh, 64% of teens are consistently using AI. That's not the case. The question that they were answering was, how many of you have ever used AI? And that was 64%. Where it's more like 30% are consistently using it or say they use it every day, which makes more sense. Once I saw that, it was less surprising to me. That's more a number that sounds more consistent. Um, and then the other one that was surprising to me was that it showed that people who lean Democrat were more likely to use AI than people who lean Republican. Um, it also is more likely that if you lean Republican, you do not have access to a computer. Um, so that would make sense. That I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. You'd think that, like, once again, the more progressive stance is not use AI. The also more conservative stance would be to not have a computer, and so you wouldn't be using generative AI. So those things were surprising to me, but then kind of made sense in the end. Why might these pieces of information be important to note when discussing this class and social media as a whole? Um, this is focused on teens, right? That was age 13 to 17 were those statistics. They are going to be where this new form of social media is marketed towards, and then also they're going to be the people who decide if it's being used at all, right? And so they're this is, I mean, generative AI is a huge growing form of social media, right? It's influencing other forms of social media as well. And so their thoughts on generative AI and their interaction with it is going to play a big role in how much generative AI affects social media going forward. Did the information, based on what you found, what might be the potential ramifications from a personal, professional, academic, or societal level? Um, I think that if only 30% of teens going forward, and I mean, I'd like to see if that number goes up or goes down, right? I think we're kind of in I'm hoping the height of AI right now, especially generative AI. If only 30% of teens are willing to use generative AI consistently, how do we not stay in this literacy crisis that we're in currently? Do we do we not see AI start to take over jobs the way it was before because people are not willing to use it, right? The growing population, the growing generation is not willing to use it, and so they're not willing to do jobs that use it. Um, do we see more people trending to because right now college applications are dropping in droves, right? People are deciding I'm not going to go to college because why would I go to college if my degree is obsolete and taken over by a computer, right? Do we see that pendulum swing back? Um, it's going to be really interesting. The effects of AI on that generation just younger than us, actually.